It would be easy to sit here on my high horse judging the Panasonic autofocus way of life, but I'm gonna take the high road on this one. We all know it's abysmal. They're stubborn, it hurts. It's like a donkey refusing to move with too much baggage. But whatever, you make your choices, I'll make mine. The GH6 on paper appears to have caught up and surpassed the Sony a7S III in many different ways. Some unnecessary, but way to go, Panaboy, you caught up. The disappointments are shocking in areas you wouldn't have considered. This lens.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Alright, we got a lot to talk about here. GH6 and its potential for wildlife videography. I have a purchase to announce. Not this. I would never buy it. That's Panasonic. We have the 2x teleconverter for the G Master versus its equivalent Micro Four Thirds loser. Look at the difference on that. Oh god, I took a picture because this is retarded. Oh, look at this. So what you're looking at, G9 with the 100 to 400, 1638 grams versus the Sony a7S III 100 to 400 with the 2x teleconverter, 2486 grams. It is so much heavier, it's not even funny. I can put this on my backpack clip and walk around like it's barely there. I tried that on the Sony. I had a herniated disc erupt and I survived it. Cost-wise, $6,500 and $44 for the Sony, $2,595.98 of a dollar for the Penny Boy. It's a lot cheaper. The image quality, as we're gonna see, I went out the other day to get some wildlife, so we'll intersperse that footage. I tried the animal detect autofocus in the Penny Boy. We have so much to talk about. First, I have a glimmer glass filter. We're about to put it on. Engaged. What does this have to do with the video? Not a lot. But we have a glimmer glass. Did you notice a difference? I'm gonna return it. I actually bought it for the Olympus. I wanted to see what wildlife with a glimmer glass filter could do for us. Probably not much, but it will happen one day. Okay, first let's just look at some footage. We got the G9 on your left in 4K 60p. It's only 8-bit because that's all they allow. Sony on your right, 10-bit, 4K 120p. The Panaboy is holding its own here. It's like, here I am full frame, like almost 3 times the cost. You're not seeing like a huge difference. It's embarrassing actually to own the Sony, and there are a couple shots here where now that I'm at Tony 11 on the Sony, it's actually much noisier than the Panasonic. So, oh boy, when you want that reach, I'm telling you, full frame might not be your answer. Here's 180 frames per second HD for the Penny Boy versus 240 on the Sony, and there we have glory upon us, slow motion woodpecking at its finest. I'll tell you, now that I have 800mm on the Sony, it feels like I don't need anything else, but I will nitpick. So footage wise, the G9 of 1997 looks fine, meaning that the GH6 improved in every area. What else could you need? Like, I'm happy with the image. What I was shocked to find out, this lens, this is the one. If you're gonna go for wildlife, this is the 100 to 400, their highest quality lens apparently. You would not believe, one, the stiffness of the zoom. It's like metal. I could cut my hand, I probably will. Look, that, I am bleeding. I could live with that though. Just, okay, ow. And you get there, it's the focus ring that is so stiff. I'm used to doing one finger, just, okay, boom, yep. On every system so far, Fuji, Olympus, and Sony, no problem manually focusing. What is this? It's so much that I have to actually grip 2 fingers. I know this sounds like a nitpick, it's not. Let me just show you footage of what this looks like in real time trying to get a bird. In this majestic shot about to happen with squirrels on a perch with a building in the background, most majestic shot we've ever seen. That's me zooming, and now I'm trying to manually focus, and just, I managed to do it, but it took some time. What I'm seeing in the viewfinder is rolling shutter chaos. As I'm zooming, it's like, oh my god, I'm losing the bird, and then when I'm trying to manually focus, it just moves so much. It's like it's the most difficult system I've ever seen. So this lens is off the market. It's not even in the plans. You have to go to the Leica 50 to 200 with a 2x teleconverter to get this kind of reach. It might be doable. So I've heard that it's good. It's all Leica stuff. This is a Leica lie. Panasonic should be ashamed of themselves for making this lens so, like, just the build quality. Usually you don't care, like, oh, it's plasticky or whatever. Like, this is operation mayhem. It's terrible. Build quality should never cause you to lose a shot. So, like, you have nothing else for telephoto. Let us now insult Panasonic a little bit more, and then we'll get to their positive sides. It's mostly positives, if that Leica works, the 50 to 200. But absolutely abysmal animal eye detect autofocus. Here it is in full time. If your camera doesn't have squirrel detect autofocus that I can rely on, you're not speaking my game here. You're not allowed in my neighborhood. Why are you here? I couldn't get this shot. Here's that amazing squirrel shot side by side. Sony and Penny Boy. Pretty much, I think Penny might even look a little sharper. That's bullshit. Oh, that is bullshit. I'll be honest with you, I do prefer manual focus, so this isn't a huge nitpick for me. I just figured I'd try it on the G9. It was abysmal. A couple different shots, it's just like picking twigs out. Admittedly, that's not an easy shot. The squirrel's face is mostly hidden, but the eye is there. That's the most important key to the soul. You should have recognized it between a branch. Sony doesn't have animal eye detect autofocus in video for some reason on their Pro video camera. They haven't. They put it out to the ZV-E10, but they're pros who spent actual money. We don't get it. And I don't think they're going to update it. This is a little Canon cripple hammer segmentation going on, and we're not going to get that feature, and it hurts. Little side rant. Sony a7S III is the absolute worst hybrid video and photo camera. We know it on paper because there's only 12 megapixels, but still, it's like it's good in low light, good enough to share on your Instagram. Like, nobody cares, but when you switch from photo to video mode, certain settings are the same that you would never want the same. I think it's a glitch. Sony, please fix this. Say I'm taking pictures, animal eye detect on. It works in photos. Cool, boom. I switch back to video mode, that stays on, even though it doesn't work. It doesn't work for video. Why does it stay on? Why would that setting be shared? Oh, sorry, it's on. I know it does nothing, and now it won't detect my face. And my custom mode buttons, those change. So I have a quick animal eye detect on, boom, off. When I'm in video mode, I no longer can change that quickly. I have to either go back to the photo mode to use my custom buttons or dive into a menu. A whale will eat me. Same with the zebras. Every time I switch into photo mode, the zebras are on and I can't see a damn thing. I'm like, why are you on? And my custom button doesn't work to turn you off. I hate you, Sony. You make us cry. You make elves and kittens cry. But other than switching modes being so terrible, I'm actually getting really used to and comfortable with the Sony system. I zoom in, it's on autofocus. I have a back button to switch it to manual, and then I zoom in, it's focused, I lock it, and then fine touches. It's actually a pleasure to use. I can pretty much guarantee I get the shot within a couple seconds. A couple more rants about the G9, and then we'll talk about the GH6. The X Teleconverter. I don't get this, man. On the Olympus, we also have that. One button press and it crops in. Panasonic, you can set it to a custom mode button and then it asks you questions. It's like a questionnaire. You press the button and then it says, do you want to turn the teleconverter on? Then you have to switch over and then it's a 3-button press mayhem disaster. Do you want to? What do you think I pressed the button for? I pressed it to crop in. Why do it crop? Confirm. Definitely. What are you doing? I missed every shot. That's similar to the Fuji X-T4. If I want to switch to slow-mo, oh, you can save that to a custom button. But that button brings you to the menu where you have to then go up, on, shutter press. Just turn it on. It's on. The button. Custom button on. Now when it comes to the GH6, I made a little chart. Now don't quote me on this. There's mathematical and grammatical errors, most likely. But these are the sensor sizes, millimeter by millimeter. So I multiply them to simplify, get a total size reference. So full frame sensor is 100%. Look at that. Medium format is 168% of the size of a full frame. So APS-C is less than half the size. We're not talking crop factor, we're talking physical size. Less than half. Micro panty boy, just over a quarter of the size. But so far, in slow motion, we crop in. Huh? We got problems here. So I think it's an advantage, but I might be changing my mind on that. On the Fuji, you're at like 29% crop. You're now 30% of the size of a full frame sensor. Of Sony's 90%. I'm confusing myself. But basically, APS-C in slow motion is only slightly bigger than a full micro four thirds sized picture. So GH6 does not crop the slow motion. So you're thinking, oh, I have the Fuji X-T4, I have a bigger sensor than you. It's only 4% bigger. Huh? She won't even notice it. When we're talking like Olympus OM1, that's a 33% crop, 17% of a full frame sensor, just barely 3% bigger than a 1-inch sensor now. So if you're thinking like the ultimate quality, these micro four thirds with their crops, the OM1, you're basically a bridge cam. That's what's making me hesitate pouncing on that. And their 240 frames per second is 8-bit. GH6 is 10-bit and no crop. It has to be so much better, and 300 frames per second. Wow. But no dynamic range boost in any of the modes I want them in. According to Gerald Undone, he sort of threw this out there. He didn't really remember which Panasonic camera he tested before, but apparently the GH6, let's say it's equal to or slightly worse dynamic range than the GH5 or GH5S. None of us know for sure what he meant. With the dynamic range boost, it's now better. It's like rivaling Sony A7S III. I think Potato Jet said it was better in certain modes. So like now we have this cinematic look, high dynamic range. Can't use it in any of the modes I want. 4K 120p? Nope. 300 frames? Nope. So now we're down to basically GH5 level dynamic range. Cinematic? No. One thing funny I found about Gerald's review, he showed that the Panasonic sensor has this like streaking, like these lines that just show up. Panasonic's gonna fix it, maybe? But like Panty Boy's whole reason for not having phase detect autofocus was because of the banding. And now they invented their own new streaking thing. And they still don't have the good autofocus. Why? Panasonic apparently no longer turns a human face into a pig baby. No longer with the pig pink skin tones. Thank you, Caleb from DSLRvideoshooter.com. He said, like, yeah, it looks different. It's like orangey, like a Canon orange. I'd like to test it, but you would never film yourself on a Panasonic camera unless you wanted to ask a frog to the prom or something. And you carry it in the pocket, and it's like, I'm better looking than she is. She does pee and poo in this pocket. Yes, I can smell it. Don't hug me. But that's cool. I'd like to see this new Panasonic color science. It's just you ruined my life with the autofocus. I would never trust it. I would never buy a micro four thirds camera with that type of reactions and the pulsing. It's still there. It's better, like always. Oh, we made it a little better. Still unusable for most shots, but it's kind of acceptable. Nobody would accept you. But I think people are being a little harsh on micro four thirds. I mean, it has its uses, and those uses are wildlife. And when you have this telephoto glass that's so much lighter, it makes it fun, and there's not much of a difference between like a so much more expensive and heavier option. It's like, yeah, you're gonna see sometimes it's better, but not always. I don't know what it is. Like, you get the right light, and then Panasonic will look as good as the full frame, but in certain, like, unless you're doing nightlife photography, wildlife, just crocodiles and swamps, I don't know, man. Full frame's a myth. I think you do a GH6 versus Sony a7S III for wildlife. I think the GH6 might pull ahead again, because it'll likely be sharper. You have 5.7K 60p. It's not very slow, I would never use it, but you would get the ultimate sharpness. I lean Penny Boy or Olympus or Fuji for wildlife, which brings us to another chart I have made just now. We got the Sony a7S III with the 100-400 weights and equivalent toniatures for depth of field related abilities. Not light gathering, just toniatures. Look how heavy that Sony is. Fuji with the 100-400, you don't get as much reach, but you get more tone than my full frame. That's interesting. It would be lighter too, and if you punch into slow-mo, you're almost there, 774 mils. When we're talking Olympus with the 100-400, might be a little shaky. I don't know how those stabs are going to work. I want to buy the lens just to test it, but that'd be an expensive test, like $1,500. I saw it. It's pretty cheap. Not cheap enough. That's a little lighter than the Fuji, but now you're 200-800 toniature getting into the scary territories. But slow-mo with the crop 1,064 mils. That's fantastic. But the king might be Panasonic with the Leica 50-200, 2x teleconverter. We're talking Tony 11.2-16 in the background blur ability, but 5.6-8 in light abilities. It's the lightest setup we have, and it can do the slowest slow motion. That's so exciting. That is so exciting. That is not heavy. That's the exact same weight as the G9 with the 100-400 to the gram exact weight. Wow. Actually, I had this tripod thing on. Oh, man. Oh, don't count on me for anything. But Penny Boy will do shit like this to you. Oh, I'm gonna get this hawk. Oh, you wanted a vertical video, right? Don't worry, I'm in animal detect. I'll handle the focus. I'll get it, no problem. But you do want a vertical video, right? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It was just down by my arm. You dick. And you missed everything. It was the worst video I've ever made. Sony, however, wouldn't let me down in that situation. I zoomed right in there. I think I was autofocusing in a zone, middle zone. Sometimes it flutters, it gets out, but Sony was interested in the cloudy background of nothingness for some reason. So if Panasonic had put some actual effort into building that 100-400 smoothly, we'd be having a totally different conversation. I'd be thinking GH6 with that lens, and then boom, your quality is good enough for wildlife, super light, but like that causes you to ruin shots. Too stiff, way too stiff, and you can't update it. I don't know if that lens was dropped in the ocean and it has salt water all over it, but my buddy has tested a couple different copies and the other one was even stiffer, so that's not doable. But if that Leica is good, can you tell me, do you have the 50-200 with a 2x teleconverter? And is it still stable on your G9 or whatever you have? Let me know down below. But that could be your ultimate thing. GH6. I don't know about that Olympus. I don't have a lot of faith that they're going to keep it together. They didn't put much into it. I'm not wowed. It's a solid update, but the fact that I lose 10-bit, not that I need it. Right now I'm pretty happy with this Sony giant beast. It's just heavy. I will have to build a new back, but we have to wait. The final piece of the puzzle comes in May with the Fuji X-H2. I think that will debunk everything we've spoke about so far. I will just delete these videos when it comes, because none of the information will be relevant to our times. Fuji wins always. So that's it. I want an XT4. Just send it to me. I found one. I might buy it. I could pounce. Alright, so what do you think? GH6? Better than we thought? Could be. Thumbs up. Tone shirts. They're available. Affiliate links. You know where to find them. I'm gonna go. If you subscribe, I will give you
Panasonic autofocus,
pulsing in the background.
never felt so lost and hopeless. All I wanted was to catch the moment, but I missed the shot and now I'm homeless.
Pulsing in the background.
Face the tactics, this you bunch of dickheads, focused on the algorithms instead. Sony sensors outperform the Tower Jazz ones, made of cinnamon buns in your S5. I wanna focus on your eyeball.